Hey guys, and welcome back to Concordia Jedi for a new What If, discussing what would have happened if, instead of leaving Anakin to burn on the banks of Mustafar, Obi-Wan took pity on his former friend. Before we get started, however, please leave a like and share this video around, as it really helps out the channel, and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. With that said, let's get to it. We begin with Anakin and Obi-Wan, their fierce battle raging across the molten rivers of Mustafar. Just as Anakin sees an opening, Obi-Wan leaps backwards onto the riverbank. He turns to Anakin.
"It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!"
Anakin, filled with fury, would glare at his old master.
"You underestimate my power! Don't try it!"
Unfazed by Obi-Wan's warning and focused solely on killing his former teacher, Anakin would leap in the air over Obi-Wan's head, only to find both his legs and his left arm gone in a single motion as Obi-Wan swung his blade. Anakin would tumble downward towards the lava, crying out in agony. Obi-Wan would look at Anakin in sadness.
"You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness!"
As Obi-Wan began to walk away, he would grab Anakin's saber. Anakin would look up at Obi-Wan and scream how much he hated him. Obi-Wan, filled with a deadening sorrow, would turn to Anakin. Time seemed to freeze as he looked upon the one he once called his brother. But he realized soon that Anakin was sliding closer and closer to the magma. In this moment, he had three options. Option 1, walk away. Leave Anakin to his terrible fate. Option 2, put Anakin out of his misery. End his suffering in one final act of mercy. Option 3, save him. Try one final attempt to get him to see the light. Could he even do it? Was he too far gone? As he pondered, Anakin's tunic started to smoke and smolder. In this moment, Obi-Wan made his choice. Reaching out with the Force, Obi-Wan pulled Anakin up the bank of black sand and over to him. Anakin was filled with hatred, but he was surprised. Obi-Wan had saved him. Why? Obi-Wan held the mutilated body of Anakin. For a few moments, neither said anything, before Obi-Wan hoisted Anakin over his shoulders and took him back to the ship. Anakin writhed and groaned, cursing Obi-Wan's name with every step. Obi-Wan, however, stayed silent and stone-faced, keeping his grip tight around Anakin's remaining limb. Soon, Anakin was too exhausted to resist, and he went limp. Obi-Wan approached Padme's ship and brought him on board, setting Anakin in the cargo bay before going to check on Padme. They would soon depart for Polis Massa. Padme and Anakin both needed medical attention fast. On Polis Massa, Yoda would be waiting in meditation. As he sensed Kenobi approaching, he sensed Skywalker as well. What was going on? Yoda would reach the landing deck as Obi-Wan brought Padme off first, handing her to Bail Organa before returning inside and retrieving an unconscious Anakin. Padme would be taken into emergency care while Anakin was stabilized and his wounds cleaned. Guards stood on either side of him as he sat in a bed, furious but lacking any motivation or strength to act upon his anger. Obi-Wan learned that Padme was slowly fading due to unknown circumstances, and that they needed to operate quickly to save the twins. Obi-Wan would look at Yoda, and the two would share an unspoken moment of understanding. As Anakin sat, Obi-Wan would enter. Anakin would scowl at him.
"You!"
"Save your energy, Anakin. Padme is in critical condition. They are prepping her for childbirth as we speak." Anakin's demeanor would shift from anger to fear. This moment, the nightmares. She would die here.
No, I need to see her! I need to be with her!"
Obi-Wan would look at Anakin, seeing him quiver and shake with a fear he had never seen in the young man before. Obi-Wan motioned to the guards, who would hoist Anakin to a hover chair and escort him outside of Padme's room. Yoda would stare in shame at Anakin, but Anakin was too focused on his wife and Obi-Wan by her side. She was in pain. The first child was coming.
"Let me in!"
The door would creak and bend open as Anakin forced his chair inside and pushed past Obi-Wan to Padme's side, taking her hand in his cybernetic.
Anakin.
I'm here, Padme.
The guards would rush over to apprehend Anakin, but Obi-Wan would reluctantly raise his hand to stop them. Anakin stared into Padme's eyes. The yellow and red of his anger-filled gaze from earlier once more gave way to the normal blue tint. Padme would cry out loud as the droid delivered the first baby. "It's a boy."
Luke. Oh, Luke.
Anakin would look at his first child. The anger and fury inside of his heart began to melt, and he looked upon the face of his son. Padme touched her son's face in sadness and joy. Soon she would start to breathe again and cry as the droid delivered a baby girl. "It's a girl."
Leia.
Anakin's eyes overflowed with tears as he looked upon this beautiful baby girl. Turning to Padme, he could feel her starting to fade.
No, Padme. Padme, stay with me. Stay with me, please.
Padme would struggle to hold on, looking at Anakin, seeing not the man from Mustafar, but the man she married on Naboo. These memories of the lakeside, the trees, their love. Something inside told her to fight. She had to fight. Reaching out, she held Anakin's face in her hands as Anakin, tears flowing, placed his hand on hers. After a moment, Padme was quickly moved into an intensive care room. No one would be allowed in while she was under their supervision, not even Anakin. Anakin would sit outside of her room, staring through the window, his children being kept in the care of specialized nursing droids. Anakin gripped his chair to the point the armrest began to bend and deform. Obi-Wan would watch cautiously from the doorway, looking at Anakin and trying to figure out what to do next. After a few hours, Padme was stabilized. She would live, but she needed to rest. Anakin would be brought to a room with 2 chairs. Sitting across from him, Obi-Wan. The two stared, not saying a word for what seemed like an eternity, until Anakin spoke.
Obi-Wan, what's going to happen?
Obi-Wan would look at Anakin and sigh.
Why, Anakin? Why?
Anakin looked down at the floor.
I needed to save her. Save her from what? A while back, I began to have nightmares. Like the ones I had about my mother before she died. I saw her die in childbirth. I tried to convince myself that it was just a nightmare, but I couldn't. I tried to speak to Master Yoda, and he told me to let go of my fear. That was something I couldn't do. The Chancellor told me that he knew how to save her. That by joining him, we could uncover the secret to saving her. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have understood? Your allegiance has always been with the Order. You would have turned me over. Is that what you think?
Anakin would be taken aback by Obi-Wan's change in tone.
You believe that I would have just abandoned you to the Council's judgment? Do you think so little of me? All the years I trained you, looked after you, taught you everything I knew. And you believe I wouldn't have tried to help you? Your actions have resulted in the death of everything I cared about. The Republic, the Jedi Order, the very democracy that we dedicated our lives to protecting. All because you didn't trust the Council. And you didn't trust me. Anakin, you were my brother. You were my closest companion. I would have done anything for you. Now look at yourself. Look at what you have become. Look at everything that has happened because of what you have done. Can't you see what Palpatine has turned you into?
Anakin would shut his eyes tightly, tears streaming down his cheeks as he shivered and shook. What had he done? He'd sold his soul to the devil and killed hundreds of innocents, all to save Padme and his children from a fate that would never have come to be.
Master, Obi-Wan, You're right. I've become what I was meant to destroy. I'm a monster. Qui-Gon Jinn should have left me on Tatooine. I've plunged the galaxy into darkness. I failed.
Obi-Wan would stare at Anakin, his heart shattered. Even after all Anakin had done, after all the evil he had committed, he still loved him. He was still his brother.
You should have left me to die. Why did you save me?
I don't know. Perhaps I wanted you to live to see justice. But maybe I just couldn't bear to see you suffer. Despite all you've done, Anakin, despite all of your actions, I look at you right now, and I still see that young boy from Tatooine. Perhaps not all hope is lost.
I'm sorry, Obi-Wan. I'm sorry for everything. I've caused so much pain.
I know. Anakin would soon be summoned to Padme's room at her request. Upon entering the room, he would see Padme holding her children, smiling lovingly.
Padme.
Padme would look up at Anakin, the smile slowly forming into a look of sadness. Anakin had broken her heart. With all the terrible deeds he had committed, including attacking her, she found it difficult to look into his eyes.
Padme. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. What I've done.
Anakin, you've changed. I tried to talk to you. I tried to help you.
I know. Padme, I was so scared. You are children. You're my world. I couldn't lose you the way I lost my mother. And I let that fear drive me to the dark side. And it drove you away.
You haven't driven me away, Anakin. For all you've done, I still love you. But I need some space. A lot is going to change. Not just with us, but the galaxy. With Palpatine leading this new empire, none of us are safe.
Anakin would stare at the floor and look back to Padme.
I'll think of something. I promise.
Maybe you should speak to Master Yoda.
Anakin shut his eyes in regret.
I'm the last person Yoda wants to speak to. I destroyed everything he dedicated his life to building.
I think it's all the more reason for you to go see him. Anakin, face what you've done. If you want to make things right, this is the first step.
Anakin would look at his sleeping children. If nothing else, they were alive. So was she. His nightmares hadn't come to fruition. There wasn't much else he could lose at this point. Anakin would find Yoda meditating, looking out the windows into the vastness of space.
Master Yoda?
Yoda stared out the window, as though he hadn't heard the young man.
Master, I have to tell you everything. The truth. After what I've done, you deserve to know.
Yoda slowly turned to face Anakin, his face devoid of all emotion, neither furious nor joyous. Anakin would tell Yoda everything he had hidden from the Jedi Order, including his marriage to Padme, his mother's death, and his conversations with Palpatine.
Great pain I sense in you, Skywalker.
I couldn't lose her, Master Yoda. When I spoke to you about these nightmares, you told me to train myself to let go. That is something I cannot do. I will not. Padme means more to me than anything. Even the Jedi Order. And when I found out she was pregnant, I couldn't bear to lose her. I couldn't tell anyone. No one could help. But Palpatine knew. I trusted him. And when he told me he knew a way to save her, I couldn't turn it away. I never meant for things to go this far. If I could take it all back, I would.
Change the past. You cannot, Anakin. Your dark deeds aided they have in the formation of the Empire. Safe, none of us are, including Padme and your children. If discovered she is, execute her he will. His slave once more you shall become, and the Jedi destroyed forever.
Anakin felt sick. He couldn't let them die.
What can I do, Master Yoda?
Into exile you must go, Skywalker, as I and Obi-Wan will, until the time is right to combat the Emperor. Disappear we must.
Where will you go?
Somewhere remote, shrouded by the dark side. Go I must, where Palpatine would never think to look.
I'm so sorry, Master, for all the pain that I've caused.
Terrible crimes you have committed, Anakin. Change what you've done, you cannot. Focus now, you must, on how to move on and change the future.
Anakin would slowly nod to Yoda before leaving. They would stay on Polis Massa a few days longer. Anakin would be fitted with new cybernetic replacements for the limbs that he lost. And with Padme's ship at their disposal, they had what they needed to go into hiding. Obi-Wan would walk over to Anakin as he held his sleeping son in his arms.
You'll have a plan, I'm sure. Yes. It's not one that I enjoy, but it's the safest option. We're going to Tatooine, at least for a while. Palpatine knows my history with that place. It's the last place he would think of. What about you?
Obi-Wan would think.
I'll speak to Master Yoda. I'll think of something.
Obi-Wan would gently place a hand on Luke's forehead as he slept.
Perhaps out of this tragedy, something good will come.
Anakin and Obi-Wan would stare at each other before Anakin would extend his hand to Obi-Wan.
I hope this isn't goodbye. Trust in the Force, Anakin. In time, our paths may cross once again.
Reaching to his belt, Obi-Wan would slowly return Anakin's lightsaber to him.
I return this to you now, in the hopes that you understand the gravity of what has occurred. Keep them safe, Anakin.
Anakin would slowly take his saber back.
May the Force be with you, Obi-Wan. May the Force be with you, Anakin.
With these final farewells, Obi-Wan and Anakin would part, their friendship strained and scarred, but alive. Anakin and Padme would travel to Tatooine and stay on the Lars homestead until such a time as it was safe to relocate. The memories of what he had done would torture Anakin inside. He would never truly forgive himself. But now that he had his children, he had to keep them safe. This was his new destiny. I think that's where we'll end things for right now. I may or may not continue this story in the future, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, leave a comment below about what you would like to see next, and be sure to share this video around as it really does help the channel. If you enjoy this content, please remember to subscribe as well. We'll see you next time on Concordia Jedi, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.